Hey, everybody, welcome to Always Bookin Comedy. It's Mark Masters. We're here with Leonard Kimble
Hello.
tonight, all the way from Great Falls Comedy Club in the great state of Maine. How are you tonight, Leonard?
Very good. How are you?
I'm doing awesome.
Great.
Doing
Thanks for having me.
awesome. Tell us, so you own a comedy club? Is that a fair
Yeah, sure.
description?
Right.
Unbelievable. That's so cool.
Yeah,
How did this start?
I don't own like our own four walls somewhere, but I own the company that runs the comedy. So Great Falls Comedy Club, we've been in one way or another, we've existed for about 5.5 years now. We started off as the River Comics, which is a group of friends of mine, and either that started an open mic, and we started doing shows and started having some fun with this, and last year or so we started to get a little bit more serious about it and rebranded to Great Falls Comedy Club and got a new website and all that sort of stuff that actually
Tell us about the web. How do you get a new website?
well, that was a long process. It's not as simple as you might think. Like I'm a technologist, so but I started my technology career like in the 90s. So like I know like basic HTML, that sort of stuff.
Okay.
But things are like so incredibly complicated now, and it takes like real experts to run a website.
So do you pay a company to do it, or do you buy a template? How does that work?
No, I pay a company to run our website and do really sophisticated things and Eventbrite imports on it and updating a calendar on there and working on.
So what does that look like? You pay them once a month, or you pay them a bunch up front for a like multi-year contract? Or
Yeah, once a month, because they do like ongoing maintenance. Things break here and there, and are things I want to change, and technology and enhancements we want to do here and there. And so it just takes a contract, an ongoing contract we have with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are you most excited about in the new website compared to the old website?
Oh, well, one, that I don't have to do it myself. because I was able to figure out a little bit things here and there with Squarespace, because I used Squarespace at first. And then every time I couldn't figure out something, I would go to a web developer and I would say like, oh, can you help me do this? And they would say, sure. First thing we're going to do is migrate your site from Squarespace to WordPress. And I was like, oh, really? And they were like, yes. And so once I had like the fourth person tell me the same thing, I said, all right, I guess I need to find someone to migrate myself to WordPress. And so things are in WordPress now. And apparently that's like industry standard. Yeah.
Okay.
But I love that I don't have to do it, because I kept having to figure out, this picture isn't quite right. And I couldn't quite figure out the Squarespace editing tools, and it's supposed to be user friendly. But I'm just like, I don't have time for this. I don't have time.
Right.
For this.
Yeah. So you freed up time for yourself. And how about visitors to the website? What will they notice that's better in the new website?
Well, things work. Things will get updated in a timely manner now.
Did you ever have like a funny problem with the old website where like nobody could buy tickets, or?
Well, what did I do with so we didn't have tickets sold directly on the website. It was always just like a link to an Eventbrite or a link to a Facebook page, which in effect that's what the new website is right now. So one of the enhancements that we'll do eventually is bringing tickets in-house instead of using Eventbrite. But the problem is like Eventbrite is so easy. Yeah. And like I understand Eventbrite, and I don't have to worry about too many things not working here and there. But the most part, the biggest change is like it just looks more professional now.
It does. It looks incredible. It's great. Yeah. Shout out the website address.
GreatFallsComedyClub.com.
Okay, everybody out there, open that up in a new tab. Spike there.
Don't close this tab. Open up a new tab.
Yes, a new tab. Okay, so that's one. I'm sure there's lots of things you gotta master. What do you think goes into opening a good room, besides having a good website so people can find out about the shows and get tickets?
Well, a good partnership, like because we're a small company and we couldn't necessarily own or rent our own four walls. We partnered with an established venue that had clientele and had a good location. So we're inside Craft Brew Underground, which is a beer bar in downtown Auburn, which you've been to. Mm-hmm. And in the back of their bar is this event space, and there's a stage there, and I got to put up my lights, and I got to hang a speaker on the wall. I get my amp there and a microphone, and put a logo on the back of the stage there. And we've been doing shows there for 2 years, and that's been a great partnership.
It's such a cool room.
Yeah, it's
awesome.
a nice small room. It fits 40 comfortably. It fits 50 uncomfortably, especially during the summertime. But it's at like low ceilings, dark walls, and it's really a nice little place we have there.
Yeah. Did that sign that's up there, do they ever have to take it down, or does it move ever?
Yeah, it's just hung up there with a string.
Okay. It
There
looks
are
great.
there's
Very
people who use the
professional.
room that would take it down when they don't need it to. Don't want to damage my sign when they're doing some crazy stuff on that stage there. Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Nice. And how often do you operate? How often are you running shows there?
So we do shows every Saturday. We do an open mic every Wednesday, and then we do a show like every other Friday as well.
Huh.
Yeah.
And did you grow up in Maine?
No, my wife is from Maine.
Okay.
We met each other when we were both in college in the Massachusetts area.
Okay.
I went to a little school called MIT.
Look at that. Technologist. Wow. Really undersold that. Impressive.
I dropped out. But anyway, I went there.
I've walked around campus too myself.
Yeah, they let you walk around there like nothing. It's like
It's pretty. I've seen the movie Good Will Hunting. I've seen the inside of some of those buildings.
They let me in sometimes too. Yeah. So I met my wife when we were both in college in Massachusetts, and she's from Auburn. And so when we were getting together, and we decided whose home do we want to travel to. And so I'm from Chicago, and she's from Auburn, Maine. And so for cost of living, quality of life, it was just a no-brainer, easy decision for us.
And were you doing comedy when you moved to Auburn?
No, I had no idea what comedy was.
How did that come about? How did you get started?
So like this point, like about 6 years ago, I took a adult ed class at the local Lewiston adult ed. Lewiston's the sister city of Auburn, so right over the bridge, right over the river. And took an adult ed class, and I thought it was going to be like us learning about stand-up comedy, but they actually were teaching stand-up comedy. And
they accepted your MIT credentials. You were able to get into that?
Yes. Luckily, they was like, "Oh, you went to MIT?" Yes, I went to MIT. Oh, did you graduate? They didn't ask me if I graduated from MIT. They just said I went to MIT.
Sure.
That was enough to get me in. Yeah.
Did you ever do any of those epic pranks at MIT?
No, I was always too scared to do those sort of things.
Okay.
I have a fear of heights. So like I was in a fraternity that's in Theta Xi, where we lived off of Kenmore Square in Boston. And rumors have it that some of us or somebody with, I don't know, I'm not going to tell tales, but someone might have been doing pranks with like the huge Citgo sign that was in Kenmore Square. So like every year we would have like our Citgo party, and there'd be a huge, if it was the 12th Citgo party, it'd be a huge X, Roman numeral 12, XII, on over the actual triangle of the Citgo sign. And no one knows how it ever got there, but it was conveniently enough that it was the same number as our Citgo party. Huh. Yeah.
That's incredible.
What happened. And
that's wild. Did you do any did you watch any comedy when you were in Boston?
What did I see? Not a lot. It's weird. Like I didn't even growing up, I wasn't all that into comedy. Like I sort of was, tangentially, aware of the big names, of course, like Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor, that sort of stuff, Bill Cosby. I sort of knew those sort of things growing up. And I was like, wow, that's incredible. And then I would move on and get distracted by something else. And I was never like that much of a consumer of comedy. And even now, like my partners consume comedy all the time. And I spend more time just sort of producing comedy than consuming it. Yeah.
Huh. What do you love in a good comedy show?
I'm a stickler for the host because I like hosting our shows, and so I like a host that like sets the stage and sets expectations of the room, does good house rules, greets everyone, make sure everyone's having a good time, or making sure people aren't too talkative, make sure people are seated well, that sort of stuff, and taking care of the actual comedians who are performing. So I'm very, very, very grateful for everyone who gets on our stage, I'm in awe of people's talent and their skills. And I realized, I probably realized like probably a couple of years ago that like I think like I'm probably not gonna excel very far in my own comedy career, but it's cool to be around people who are excelling and have goals to be better and better at comedy. So I figure like I think I'm much better at producing. I'm much better hanging out in the back of the room and producing the show and just loving what's happening on the stage and I guess appreciating that I had a little part in building what's happening right now.
Nice.
You get 40, 50 people in a room and they're all laughing at something that you had a little bit to do with. It's really cool.
That's a great feeling. I totally agree with that. Who's have you been pretty excited to book anybody in particular?
Yeah, we've had some really big names. There are a few professional comedians and full-time comedians in Maine, like Karen Morgan's been on our stage, Mark Turcott, Johnny Ader. Those guys are phenomenal comedians.
And how does that come about? Do they are these off nights? Are you paying them a bunch, or how does that?
Oh, what? I'm sorry. Say it again.
Like, so you're really excited that you booked these big names in your local area. How were you able to get those big names? Was it difficult, or do you just
those
hey,
I'm friends with? I just know them. You know, I met Mark. I met Mark through an open mic when I was taking the class. So as much as these guys are professional comedians, it's like I'm close and I'm friends with them. Nice. So like I asked them to be on the show, and then they'll just say like, yeah, if they're free or not, like great, they'll be on the show. Nice. Other times we'll get, bigger touring, national comedians. I mean, I guess Karen Morgan also is touring nationally, but sometimes we'll get people like Jimmy Dunn has contacted us and he's been on the show. He did a double night with us in March, and he's coming back in August. A couple weeks from now, we have Sam Miller out from Washington.
I love Sam.
Yeah,
he's great. Tell him I said hello.
Oh, I will. Yeah, and that was great because Nick just saw him on Instagram, saw one of his reels, and just messaged him. I said, "Hey, that's awesome. You ever think about coming to Maine?" And Sam's like, "Yeah, dude, sure, I'll do that." and next thing we know, he's flying out, and we put him up somewhere. We got him on a couple of other shows, and
nice.
It was a good time. And he's such a great guy, and he's coming back again. The week of the 11th, 12th, and 13th, we'll have him doing Portland and Belfast and then Auburn. Yep.
That's awesome. So do you guys produce those other shows? Like, and how is that like helpful for your business?
Yeah. So the Portland show is produced through another group, B&W, out of they're in Portland at the Free Street Pub. So it's called the Comedy at the Cavern, I think. And so that's a different production company, but we're just, they're letting Sam perform there. And so I think Nick and my partner Nick will be there as well for that show. And then up in Belfast, that's at the Colonial Theater, and we're producing that show at that location. And then we produce the show, obviously, that's actually the show that's in Auburn will be at the Community Little Theater. So hopefully, that's got 300 seats. And so we hope to get a ton of people that's a little bit bigger than our club in Auburn.
Huh. And so will you brand that theater as like a Great Falls Comedy Club event, or how does that work?
Yeah. We'll say, we're tonight we're Great Falls Comedy Club at Community Little Theater. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Anything you've learned as a technologist, self-described technologist, any tips or tricks for showrunners with technology?
Yeah, use technology is my tip. So like, yeah, it's cool to print things out and it's cool to try to remember things, but actually I like the technology that we have. I like the technology of Eventbrite. I like the technology of using like a contact relations management system. Like we use HubSpot to keep track of contacts.
Those are like your customers or
Yeah,
your performers? Okay.
yeah,
So
both.
tell me more about that. Nobody ever talks about that. You use a CRM system?
Yeah, I use HubSpot to keep track of people who bought tickets, people who are on our mailing list.
How do you
We
get them in there? You export them out of Eventbrite?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
My first import was that. Now it's a little bit manual stuff. And if you go to our website, depending on the algorithm, it'll pop up to ask you if you want to join the mailing list,
Okay.
and then people get that information, and then that pops into our CRM.
So can you like look up how many times a specific customer has been to your club? Like what kind of information are you getting out of
Yeah,
the
like
CRM?
um, I can get like how often that person might have been to our website,
Oh,
or
wow. Cool.
how often that person has read one of my marketing emails.
Okay.
So it's not that tied into Eventbrite in terms of like knowing that Sally bought a ticket all the time, because Eventbrite and my website are in the CRM are kind of separate. But at least I can see that Sally opened the email that I sent advertising the show, and then hopefully hopefully she bought a ticket. But the more people who actually open those emails, the more people who actually might buy a ticket to a show.
Nice. Is
Yeah.
HubSpot something you pay for?
Yeah, there's a free version, and it's really limited in terms of like how many contacts you can use and stuff like that. So like I've got like the lowest paid tier is enough for me right now, and
Okay.
it gives you like 1,000 marketing contacts,
Okay.
which is fine for us. We
And is
cover
that what you send your
Yeah, so
emails with? Okay.
yeah, HubSpot.
Okay.
And and that's another thing where speaking of technology, I had a consultant help me with it, because
Okay.
it's touted as simple to use, but it's difficult to learn. So I had a consultant that worked with me for several weeks. Like we met like once a week for probably a couple months, and he would just give me tasks. He's like, figure this out. We figure this out. How do we import these names? How do we make this list? And how do we do an email marketing? How do we keep track of different comedians and things like that? And so it's really helpful to understand, like, yeah, all this technology is out there, but find someone to teach you that technology.
Nice.
I mean, yeah, you don't always have to pay a consultant like I did, but find find a peer that's already used it, I guess, and have them sit down over a Zoom and help you do that sort of stuff. Yeah.
You ever have to kick somebody out of your club?
I have never kicked someone out of the club. Knock on wood. I have kicked someone out of shows we did outside the club.
Okay.
Yeah. So one time I had to kick someone out. This was like right at the tail end of COVID. We did a show at a local hotel, and the rule was everyone at the time was still had the mask. And so if you weren't drinking or eating, they were like, please have your mask on. And this guy just got belligerent with the hostess and was yelling at her. And she came over to me for help. And I was like, you gotta go. And he was like all aggressive and was all ready to fight me and everything about it. I'm like, oh man. And I was I was just so done. So done. And I realized like I shouldn't have like adjusted my stance when he was like leading at me, because like I'm like, oh no, I shouldn't have done that. I should have just been like this, because that's more de-escalating, instead of going like this. I'm like, oh no, I shouldn't have done that. But if he did take a swing at me, at least I'm in the right stance to block something. So he had to go. Another show I had to kick someone out at was someone, like, the show had started. I think the I don't know if the feature was on stage, but the headliner wasn't on stage yet, maybe. But like the feature was on stage, and this woman was like loud talking on her cell phone in the middle of the crowd, just loud talking, and everyone around her was shushing her. And eventually, someone's like, "Leonard, there's something's going on out there," and I'm like, eventually I say, "Oh, I think, oh, man, can you get off your phone? Please stop, please stop." And she's like, "What are you gonna do? Call the police on me?" And I'm like, I paused, but like the guy who was running the venue was like, yes, we will call the police on you. You have to leave. Yeah.
Jeez, that's crazy.
Mhm.
Any other wild stories from the club? Anything good
Um,
or bad?
well, I think things at the club are usually good. It's like one. I guess that's the good part of being a small venue is that you don't normally get a lot of jerks in there.
Mm.
Yeah, you can't curse on this, right? I don't want
You
to.
can do whatever you want. You
Oh,
can do
okay.
whatever you want.
You don't get a lot of jerks in there that are there to cause trouble or heckle or just you're 2 feet from everyone else in the room, and it's just like there's a better vibe with that, where we're all here to enjoy what's happening on that stage and laughing with each other. So I
Right.
guess
Well,
it's
I think
easy
that's
to get.
also a testament to how well run the club is. The
Oh,
way
well,
you
thank
explain everything, the way people are personally sat.
you.
It's it's a very personal experience, I would say.
Yeah, I like sitting people. That's one of the things I do that people look at me weird when I'm doing that. If I realize you're a party of two, I'm like, okay, you can have those 2 seats right there.
It's like
And
Tetris.
yeah, like Tetris them in. I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
okay. If I got a party of three coming, like I can't sit you there. I gotta save that for three people. I gotta save this for four people. I got another party of one. Okay, I'm gonna sit you there, and now that one person's gonna be like, and like, everyone just meld it right into there, sitting as close to the stage as possible. Great, here we go.
It's aw I mean, as a comedian, I really appreciate that attention to detail.
Cool.
Have you ever oversold a show?
Um, so sometimes, like when it gets to be like 45 people in there, I'm usually like scrounging for chairs, and people are pretty much in the back, and you're blocking the route for Mike, the owner, to get through to get to the beers that are stored in the back of the room. So like, so yeah, it happens. Excuse me. But that's when we get to like 50 people, and it's really friggin' hot in there. And at some point, I'm just like, I'm sorry, I can't let any more people in. We give out some comps sometime, and the dilemma there is that a lot of times comps don't show up, and so if I've given out 10 comps, but I've got 45 people who are actually showing up at the door and asking the last five people are asking for a ticket at the door, and I'm like, oh well, I gave out comps, but they're not here yet. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
come on in. Just throw some
Yeah,
money
I
throw some
definitely
money
people
down.
who don't pay tickets, they don't show up as reliably, for
Right,
sure.
right,
So
right.
I have a follow-up question to that, but we
Mhm.
also got a very similar question coming from online from North
Oh,
Carolina. Mark asks, if a show is not selling like you want it to, do you discount or up your advertising budget? And the question I was going to ask that is very similar to that is, do you have any tips for marketing? So kind of, can you talk about how do you fill these rooms?
yeah. So I wish we knew what the secret sauce is. We're we're still a small company. We're still learning. We're making mistakes every day. Every day we make a mistake, and hopefully we're learning from them. But in terms of like, if something's not selling well, I don't spend a lot of money on advertising because we're so small. So I have to decide where are my dollars spent on a weekly basis.
T-shirts.
T-shirts, right? T-shirts are actually cheap.
Your T-shirt looks great.
Thank
Good
you.
branding.
T-shirts are actually very, very cheap. It's cheaper to make a T-shirt than to sell a ticket. um, so I'll do discounts, yes, because that's one more thing in the social media algorithm. When you post like, oh, there's a deal, use this promo code, and I do a video and I say like, hey, use the promo code June laughs or July laughs or teachers or first responders, that sort of stuff, and get $5 off or $10 off a ticket. And the funny thing about that is like I almost never see much of an uptick in the promo code use,
Hmm.
but I'll see an uptick in actual ticket purchases.
Huh.
So it's like,
That's a
I don't know.
win-win.
Yeah, it's a win-win. Like, or no one actually used the code, but at least I sold a few more tickets, and I like to think it's because they saw my pretty face talking about the show that's going to happen in a couple days. But I guess, yeah, to answer your question directly, yeah, I do discount codes. I try to do them early, so I'm not too worried about like a day or two before the show. But in terms of like marketing budget, um, I don't spend a lot of money. I almost don't spend any money on a particular show unless I know there's like a guarantee that I actually have a budget coming in. Like if I have a sponsor who's paid some money for the show, then I know I can use that money for budgeting. Other than that, it's sweat equity. It's me. It's me making a video. It's me, making a cool poster, making some animations. It's me, making a reel or something like that, or it's me running around a local business and putting up a flyer here and there.
That's great.
Yeah.
What are comedians? Give some advice to comedians to not annoy you as a club owner. What are some examples of things that comics do poorly?
You're gonna put me on the spot, and I don't know.
You don't have to name names.
Oh, I'm not gonna name names, but I'm sure.
But
like
you
I'm
can.
gonna say something. And someone's gonna be like, "Oh, I did that all the time." So again, I'm still new. I don't know how like elevated I am in the whole hierarchy of comedy producers, but I'll tell you what I appreciate. I appreciate someone sending me a good video. So like because one, I don't consume a lot of comedy, which I know is weird for a comedy booker. So I don't consume a lot of comedy. So when you just say, "Hey, can I come to your club?" I don't know you from Adam. And so, yeah, you wrote a nice email and that's nice. And I want to say yes to everybody because I want people on my stage. But if you could send me a clip, that'd be great. If you could send me a high-res headshot, that'd be awesome. My goodness. So I'm trying to make our posts a little bit better, and it's really hard when people have some blurry pictures for their headshots. And people are gonna know I'm talking about them. I don't like repeat. I don't like when people are repetitive. Like, hey, did you get my message? Or or hey, I never heard back from you. And I had to apologize to one person because I was just like, I'm sorry. I get dozens of messages every month, and I can't respond to all of them. And yeah, I have a day job. This isn't my day job. I don't pay the mortgage with this company. It's fun. I love it. But I have a day job, and I have to do that job. So I don't have time to respond to everybody. And so if I don't respond to you, it either means I didn't see your message, just as an out. Maybe I didn't see your message. Maybe I'm thinking I'm going to get back to that later, or maybe I'm just thinking like I'm okay. We're okay.
Right.
We're okay. I'll see you. We'll see you sometime. I'll catch you sometime.
Yeah.
Or send a better clip. Maybe.
Nice. So your number one tip for comics getting booked at Great Falls Comedy Club would be great video. You got any what makes a great video to you?
Well, I understand that not everybody has a professional videographer following them around, watching them do sets. So it's like the advice I've given to people just in general, not necessarily for people who sent me a video, is when you do record yourself, watch it afterwards. And at the very least, listen to it. And if you are getting, I don't know what the formula is, if it's like 6 laughs a minute, or what do they tell you, 3 big laughs a minute, or 2.5, whatever the formula is, if you realize that like, hey, a minute and a half has gone by in this video that you're about to send, Leonard, and there hasn't been a big laugh yet, I may not make it through that minute and a half. And I apologize again. And I don't want to sound overly like arrogant about this sort of thing. I'm like,
get a laugh early, everybody. Right. I'll tell you that. I book 500 comedians a year. If you're going to send me tape, get it, make it funny quick.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's good advice.
That's where I realized where my own comedy career is sort of, changing because I don't even spend that much. I don't get a laugh that quick when I'm on stage because I like I I love waiting in the silence of my jokes. Nick can't stand it. He's in the back of the room just yelling at me. But I when I have an awkward silence, and I love just standing there because it's my stage. But I wouldn't send that off to a booker as my tape.
Yeah.
That's just me having fun because it's my stage and I pay for the microphones.
Love it. Love it.
Right.
All right. So Leonard Kimble, owner of Great Falls Comedy Club or a partner or whatever. He's got a day job. He went to MIT. A lot going on.
Yes.
But incredible room in Auburn, Maine, in the Lewiston, Auburn area,
Yes.
apparently next to some waterfalls. So maybe you can go swimming as well if it's the right time of year.
Yes.
And a lot of great advice tonight about CRMs and websites and tech and everything. And we got some thank yous coming in from North Carolina. Mark, by the way, tuning in, asking questions. You're the best. We'll see you next Monday. We're trying to book Sam Miller that was mentioned on this episode. I ran into him in Seattle recently.
Oh, cool.
And working on that. So yeah, that's it. You tell us how people can buy tickets, find you, join your mailing list, whatever you want to say.
So you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and we're using TikTok also. Yeah, because we're cool. All those tags are at Great Falls Comedy Club, and then our website is greatfallscomedyclub.com.
Amazing. And shout out to Mark one more time, who will be at the Comedy Cellar, which I'm guessing you bought a ticket. But if you mean performing at the Comedy Cellar, I'm very impressed. And Great Falls Comedy Club, kind of a comedy cellar in and of its own right. Yep. Kind of a comedy dungeon, really. I hope to get back there someday. And great lobster in that area. Incredible. Yeah, he's a customer. Yeah. Okay. All right. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for your time, Leonard. Stick around. I want to chat with you for a second, but thanks for tuning in, everybody. There's a huge catalog of other comedy club owners, comedians, etc. So watch that stuff. Subscribe to the channel. You know the deal. All right, everybody, have a great week. Thanks for tuning in.